So let's talk about moral injury. I think this is easily the most important piece of research that's just really beginning to unfold. Moral injury as a term, as a concept, came out in 1965. Seemingly like almost everything that we learn about trauma, we start with war veterans, we move on to survivors of sexual assault, and then eventually we figure out that people who have very diverse experiences experience the same residual effects, the same impact of trauma. And when I think about moral injury, I think about, I joke about this. I say to folks, I never had a burning desire to be self employed. I had a burning desire not to work in toxic environments. I worked for a lot of nonprofits before starting my own clinic. And in each of those organizations, I was welcomed the same way. They would say something along the lines of, hey, we're a family here, and you get to be a part of that. And they weren't kidding. They were very, very similar to my family of origin. They were uh, fairly toxic. They were revenue driven. They were very invested in making money, which I always thought was strange because I didn't think that was the goal of a nonprofit. But uh, years ago, a good friend of mine said, have you ever really noticed the term human resources and thought about what it meant? And I had not. And so, what I noticed in every organization I was ever a part of was that we use up professionals. We take everything they have to offer, and when they burn out, we simply replace them with new professionals. So I started my own clinic many years ago, and it gave me the opportunity to be the person that I always wanted to work for. What I notice is that it's never been hard for me to be good to my clients. It's never been hard for me to be good to my employees. But there's still quite often a huge contrast between who I am to those I serve and who I am to me. If you're anything like me, you didn't go into the healing and helping professions because you're altruistic. You went in because you wanted to help people. And maybe you never really closely examined why you wanted to help people. In retrospect, it's very clear to me that we give away the things we most need to receive. So I went into the field to become the kind of person who should have helped me as a child, as an adolescent, as a young man. So I am really proud of the fact that I've become that person. When I work in clinical supervision, I notice that the people I supervise follow my example far more readily than they follow my directions. And so I've experienced this in parenting, I've experienced this as a supervisor and as an employer, that the more my example embodies treating myself the way that I treat everybody else, the more effective I am. And that's really the bottom line. All of us, no matter what our experiences, want to be optimally effective. And so the degree to which we take care of ourselves, the way in which we relate to ourselves, has everything to do with our effectiveness. I'm going to encourage you to just take a minute and reflect on this because I don't think we conceptualize the way in which we relate to ourselves as constituting a relationship, but it absolutely is. I've been my own worst enemy. I've been someone who was ambivalent to my limits and needs. I've been someone who repressed enormous amounts of pain. I've been someone who has experienced a great deal of trauma and dealt with it in less than healthy ways. So, the more I am to me as I am to those I serve, the healthier I become, the more effective I become. Take a minute. We're going to build on that a whole lot, but my hope is that as you go through this program, you notice some things about yourself. Maybe some of those things that you try not to think about come to the forefront. I'm going to encourage you to do a lot of journaling on that. And I'm going to encourage you to reach out to me with your questions and ideas because this conversation needs to be expanded. Thanks.